Welcome to T4G Sports. How y'all doing today? Hopefully you guys are having a great day, and hopefully you guys enjoy this video. We're going to talk about Kalen DeBoer, Nick Saban, the future of the SEC, with Saban retiring. We're also going to talk about the future of Alabama. So make sure to hit that like button, comment down below you guys' thoughts on the matter, and subscribe, click the notification bell, and let's light it up. So when Nick Saban retired, I think a lot of people got excited about it. I think a lot of SEC fans got excited, but I'd say if you're an SEC fan, I don't think it's good that Saban retired. I don't think it's good for you guys. I think you're gonna feel the effects of it, because when Saban retired and the players hit the transfer portal, okay, like Julian Sayin, Caden Proctor, the wide receiver Caleb Downs, that was a huge one as well. The wide receiver that they had transfer out as well, Isaiah Bold, I believe his name is, really, really good. Isaiah Bond went to Texas. But if you look at these guys, like look at the top four guys. One of the top four guys went to an SEC team. The other three went to the Big Ten, and two of those went to one team in the Big Ten, which was Ohio State. So I think people thought automatically like, oh man, now we're all going to eat more, because those guys that Saban was going to get is now all of a sudden going to go into the SEC and they're going to play for the SEC schools. I would proceed with caution, because it shocked everyone when Caleb Downs said, no, I'm going to Ohio State. And then immediately people were like, well, Ohio State's, they're buying all their players. Ohio State is not buying any more than anyone else. Ohio State, find where Ohio State offered more money than Georgia besides just some guy's opinion. And one thing that you got to realize is Caleb Downs, it shouldn't be shocking to you he chose Ohio State, because his number two school before he even committed to Alabama was Ohio State. They were never second to Georgia for Caleb Downs. Never. Okay, not that I've seen. If you look at all the guys right before he committed to Alabama, if you look at all the experts that were talking, they only talked about Alabama and Ohio State, not Georgia. Okay, and he's from Georgia. So I'm telling you, there's two teams who are going to eat more now that Saban's gone, and those two teams are Ohio State and Georgia. Those are those two teams. So if you're an SEC fan, that shouldn't bring you pleasure. That it just shouldn't, because if Alabama's weaker, then it's going to be tough for the entire SEC, because the entire SEC, the entire notion of the SEC is we're the SEC and we play elite football, even though really there's only a handful of teams that actually play elite football. The rest of them are mediocre. They're all right. They're decent. They're not better than decent. Okay, so that's going to hurt the entire brand of the SEC. But now they go and they get Kalen DeBoer. Now, moving forward with Kalen DeBoer, if I'm Kalen DeBoer, the only thing I'm saying is this. If I'm Kalen DeBoer, is I am going to flat out recruit in-state. Okay, that is what I'm going to do. Now I'm looking at team rankings here. Okay, so if we look at 2024, Ohio State, which something's wrong with this. Ohio State's actually ranked number 2. They have a 300. I don't know quite what's going on with this, with that. But either way, you can see they're ranked number 2 here. If you look at Alabama, for Kalen DeBoer moving forward, what do you got to do? Well, first and foremost, I think Kalen DeBoer, just to talk about who he is, I think Kalen DeBoer did more with less. He did more with less. He did more than Kirby Smart and Ryan Day did with the teams that they had. And you can argue that. Yes, you can also argue that Ohio State and Georgia had tougher routes. Georgia had to get through Alabama. Ohio State had to get through Michigan, and they had no second chances. It was one time, both of them had one loss in the season. Both of them got removed out of the playoff, and Ohio State only lost by 6 points to Michigan at home against Michigan. And they were better statistically than Washington was. They were better statistically than Alabama was. Okay, so if you look at those two teams, they had it tougher. But if you look at Washington and Kalen DeBoer did not have those level of guys, and he beat Oregon twice. Okay, he went and beat Texas. Kalen DeBoer did a lot with little, and I'm not saying Washington wasn't good. They were clearly good, but he didn't have the roster that Ohio State and Georgia had. So I think Kalen DeBoer, I think he's a great hire. I really, really do. But moving forward, if you're Alabama, okay, you can't rely on your name Alabama. You just can't. And I think that now is really set into Alabama fans. It's like, whoa, we didn't realize how great our coach actually was. Okay, because we can't just use our name and say, hey, well, come play for Alabama, because these guys, Caleb Downs, Caden Proctor, Julian Sayin, those guys said, no, we don't care about your name. We came to play for Alabama. Nick Saban and Alabama are not spelled the same, and let's never act like they are. Okay, so moving forward, Kalen DeBoer cannot recruit or try and recruit the same way Nick Saban did, because Nick Saban was asking guys to take pay cuts until they became starters, because Alabama doesn't have that NIL. However, Nick Saban was going across the globe. I mean, look at his top 5 guys, right? Look at his top 5 guys. One's from Alabama. One is from Alabama. 2 from California, one that they lost. The other one, Florida. And then you got another Alabama, Mississippi. Then you got Texas, Missouri, California, Florida. How many Alabamas do you see? You would think that it would be more filled with Alabama. But that's not Nick Saban. Nick Saban's if there's a guy in Alaska who's a nasty ground and pound left tackle, you don't think Nick Saban's going to have a guy there with an Alabama coat recruiting that guy? Of course he is. Kalen DeBoer can't quite do that same thing, though. It's going to be much tougher for him to go and recruit against Ohio State and Georgia now, because that's who he's going to be recruiting against heavily. So what he's got to do, in my opinion, you have to recruit in-state. Put a border around the state. Go back to the basics. You have a great pipeline. Do not allow Auburn to keep putting their nose in this. And what you need to do is not try to do what Saban did, and you need to surround the state, claim the state, okay, make them the Alabama again, and then, because you got to do it again, you got to redo what the OG did. And then from there, once you get a hold on that, which I think Kalen DeBoer can do, and then from there start to branch out. I think Kalen DeBoer was the right hire. I don't think that SEC fans should be excited that Nick Saban retired, unless you're Georgia fans. If you're Georgia fans, yeah, you have a right. But if you're a Florida fan, no, shouldn't be happy. Shouldn't be happy, because it's going to hurt the SEC as a whole. It really is, because even if Georgia dominates and does really good and it's just them and Ohio State competing, yes, that will help you guys. But if you don't have a clear number 2 who's equally as dominant, then it does drop the brand. It makes them a little bit more equal to the Big Ten. So I do think Kalen DeBoer was the right hire for Alabama. I'm excited. I would have hired him too if I was Alabama. Because I think that, hey, you did more with less, and I'm excited what you can do at a program like Alabama. I think he needs to recruit in-state, and then I think that he's going to make the playoff, and I think he's going to annoy people, because I think that he is a very smart coach. So I think it's bright for Alabama. I think it's going to be hard for him at first, because their fans are going to go, man, this is weird, and it is weird. It's weird, because you're going to see Ohio State creeping into your territory, and they're going to be plucking guys that normally they weren't plucking. Okay, you're going to see Georgia do the same thing, and you're going to go, this is weird. But rely on Kalen DeBoer, rely on what he knows. And I wish, the only thing I wished with Kalen DeBoer is that Kalen DeBoer, instead of like promoting Nick Saban so much, and I know this may be a hot take, I don't know. Who knows nowadays what's a hot take or not. But I wish he would just be like, yeah, this is my program now. And really go about that. It kind of sounds like he's trying really hard to like please Papa, and I just like, dude, you're Kalen DeBoer, bro. You just went to the Natty with Washington. You were good last year. You just got Michael Penix. Your quarterback that you got before was Lincoln Kienholz, who you got stolen by Ohio State. Clearly, you're good. The Ohio State ain't stealing your players if you suck. Why? Come on. You're good. Just do you. And I know he's got to, pay respect to the man, but it's like every time I hear him talk about it, it's like Nick Saban. I'm like, damn, dude, talk about you. I don't know. Like, Nick Saban's the GOAT, and give him his respect. But at the same point in time, you need to turn around and be like, I need to do what's best for Alabama football and get them to the top. And that's my goal. And whatever I got to do, if Saban helps, that's it. I love Saban. I respect him dearly, but I don't know. Anyways. With that being said, if you're an Alabama fan, it'll be a little bit shaky from here on out, but you guys are going to be a pain in the side of many teams out there. Don't worry. You'll come back some way, shape, form, something. Alabama's not going to die off. I don't believe that. I just don't believe that. The pipeline's too good. And if you get this pipeline, you get this down, you'll be fine.